yesterday with how to level up, kind of process of how that kind of looks like. And yeah, so here we are. And we left off with the fight over here with this group of people, little intellect devourers. And now we are going to continue our way through, and like I said, once I get to the point that I forgot to cover, I will pause the game, switch over to character sheet, and go through the spots that I forgot to cover yesterday. So here we go. I'm going to continue the exploration. So of course, typically this stuff is just like one set that you're going to find, Thieves' Tools. It's like the set that you're going to get as your class or your background, and you'll be able to utilize that. This one, the game mechanics kind of changed it up a little bit. Made it to where anyone can use them, and anyone can. It's just they give you a ton of them. I already have a violin. And you know what? I could probably sell it for something. So, Alright, you know what? Here we go. So, we've got a locked trunk here. Unfortunately, there's a cleric and a bard. So, bard's not going to have the proficiencies in using the thieves' tools that, say, a rogue would. But it doesn't mean that you can't try. So, for this, you would utilize a d20 once again in a either VT TRPG or live table, in-person table, and you'd use a d20, which you'll see looks like that, or it'll look something like this, and then you'll roll it and add whatever bonuses you have to it. Now, what you just saw was a critical success. That is anything that lands on a 20. Anything that lands on a 20 is considered a critical hit or critical success. Depending on your DM, depends on whether or not that's actually going to pass, depending on the difficulty level. So because that happens, I can do that. And I still have all my Thieves' Tools. If you fail low enough at Thieves' Tools, like even like a crit fail, or if the lock difficulty is high enough and you roll low enough, your DM might have your tools break on you, and you'll have to replace them or get them repaired when you get to like a settlement or a city. So, see, not really a whole lot in there, but a leather helmet, and that is always good to have. In this one, the leather helmet kind of gives you bonuses and things like that. Typically, on pen and paper, on pencil and paper, it's not. It's part of the armor, is what it is. So in the game mechanics for this one, it gives you a bonus to dexterity saving throws, whereas when you would play in typical campaign, you wouldn't see those bonuses at all because it is simply just a part of your armor. So yeah, you can go over here and just kind of look around. You always want to kind of explore. You can always prompt your DM by saying, hey, as we travel, I'm keeping an eye out for any useful herbs that might be around that I can use for my class, or I'm trying to see if I can notice any like actual landmarks that I landmarks that I recognize, things like that, and he'll have you make either survival or nature checks. And you know what, that actually gives me a good prompt. So let's switch over to here, and that would look something like you would. So let's say they want you to roll a nature check. So yeah, you would roll a nature, and my bard, because what I did was I took my bard, my level 2 bard, and I pretty much copied it onto here to make it easier to explain. And this is okay. Give me a moment. You can leave. I don't put up with that stuff. Sorry about that. Continuing on. So say I'm trying to look for herbs or something that might help with healing or things like that. I would have to roll a nature or a survival check. And that would be, as you can see here, there's a +2 here. So I get because of if we go over here to features and traits, Jack of all trades, you can add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check that you make that doesn't already include it. So my proficiency bonus is a 3. So you do half that rounded down, so I get a +1 to it right now. Or no, wait, there it is. My bad. Proficiency. I get a +1. Not that that changes anything. I get a +1 to that. However, nature is an intelligence check, and I also get a +1 to that. So I get a +2 to all nature checks. I would roll a d20, take that result, add +2. Now, as you can see, I'm kind of only moving a little bit at a time. Typically, on a map or something, your DM would only have you move, like, say, you can move up to here, and then I need you to stop, because that's going to lead into the next part of the story.
Hurry! I've got one of those brain things caught. There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others?
Now, this is, once again, one of those little interactions, and the DM will go like, hey, what would your character like to do? My character, being a little bit pragmatic, is going to be...
I was hoping for a kind soul. Well, not to worry.
And alright, so I have 2 options to get out of this grapple. I can either try and roll out of it, or strength out of it. Now, typically, because you're grappled, it's going to make... the DM will have you do a strength check or an athletics check to get out of it. Either way, so I'm going to play it like that. I'm going to do the strength. Now, as you can see, here's bonuses here. Guidance. That is a cantrip that the cleric that I'm traveling with has. What they can do is they can add a 1d4 to any ability checks that are made. And it is a cantrip, which means they can cast it at any time at will without really expending any spell slots. So that would look something like this. Alright. So what you saw was I rolled a 14. My strength is -1, so it took one off, and then it added in my jack of all trades, and then the guidance into it, and then it comes up with the whole total. So essentially, D&D has tricked you into doing math, and it makes it fun. So have fun with that knowledge.
I saw you on the ship, strutting about whilst I was trapped in that pod. What did you and those tentacled freaks do to me?
And once again, you have this interaction. Now, sometimes it'll be a sort of a natural banter between the DM and the players, and sometimes the DM will have the rule of I'm going to describe what happens, I'm going to describe what they say, and then I will prompt you, hey, what would your character like to do? Sometimes they'll do that in order to give everyone a chance to speak, but if it's an interaction with one person in particular, they'll usually treat it as a conversation.
I'm not an idiot. I saw. Ah!
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets. You try to hold the memory, but it fades to the worm. The light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on? I'm not an idiot. It has to be those tentacled monsters. Something they did. They took you too. I saw it during whatever just happened. And to think, I was ready to decorate the ground with your innards. Apologies.
You know what? My bard is sarcastic, so I'm gonna just sit there and say, glad to see we're all cut up
Indeed
now.
we are. Please, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beasts snatched me.
Now, this is where we get more prompts. Once again, it's still a conversation.
A pleasure. So, do you know anything about these worms? Turn us into... Of course it'll turn me into a monster. What else did I expect? Although, it hasn't happened yet. If we can find an expert, someone that can control these things, there might still be time.
So, once again, you get the chance to add another person to join your little group or your little band of troublemakers.
You know, I was ready to go this alone, but maybe sticking with the herd isn't such a bad idea. And you seem like a useful person to know. All right. I accept. Lead on.
Alright, so typically how campaigns work is like you might join in like halfway through a campaign, and what ends up happening is, hey, what's everyone at for levels, and then you'll actually have to go through and you'll actually have to bring your character up to that level in order to join that group, in order to ensure your survival for whatever shenanigans they've already been in. So as you can see, Astarion here is a rogue, and we go back over here to the ability points, and we see that dexterity is his highest because rogues are nimble. They're light on their feet, they're quick with their hands. They're good at going around unseen. as you can see, we got level 2. So for level 2 for rogues in here, you get to utilize things like cunning action. Cunning action enables you to use your bonus action rather than your action during combat or during a turn-based moment to hide, dash, or disengage. Now what this means is you can either hide, of course, use your stealth. You'll utilize a stealth check, which again would be that D20 with plus whatever proficiencies you have in it. Dash simply doubles your movement speed, so if you have movement speed of 30, it becomes 60. And then disengage, if you were here for the last time, you would notice that when I had my character have the movement away from a combatant that was immediately next to them, there was that red arrow. That would be the opportunity attack showing. The opportunity attack being that if you are in combat with someone, they're within melee range, and you move away from them without properly disengaging them, they can attack you. They have that opportunity to attack, so that's what that opportunity attack is. So here we are. We're gonna have another little cutscene here.
You approach the dying monster. This is the thing that abducted you. You could end its life here and now, if only you didn't feel compassion. Compassion.
And here you have another series of choices.
You can't move, can't think. Thinking is mercifully done for you. It will be a joy to serve, to die for it an honor. It's possessing your mind, forcing you to love it, but then the feeling slips. The creature's mind seems to focus elsewhere.
So I could either take advantage of the lapse and break free, or I could attempt to utilize my connection to read their thoughts. I'm going to attempt to utilize it and see. Once again, we have this bonus again that allows us to score even higher on the roll. And see, the more bonuses that you can get, the much higher your roll is, and the much more likely you are to succeed in any given task that you've come up with, which is what makes D&D a lot of fun and helps build up that teamwork aspect. It helps you with problem solving, things like that.
Your minds fuse, lusting for something that is gone. But then its grip claws back with a vengeance, a vice locking your mind into obedience. It needs sustenance to survive, and with your very body you can provide.
Okay, so this is what's gonna be a sort of like a saving throw. So if we want to go to oh, it's not gonna let me. It's not gonna let me show. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to the character sheet. So if you see over here, right here, the saving throws, I would have to make a wisdom saving throw, which, as you can see, is a +0 to the bonus, and that's because my wisdom is a 10, and that gives me absolutely 0 modifiers to it. However, if we go back, you see I still have that guidance and I have that jack of all trades. So this isn't really a saving throw, it's an ability check. Because jack of all trades only apply to ability checks. So this is just a straight give me a wisdom roll.
The monster lies exhausted, defeated. Its eyes, wet orange pearls, radiate malice.
And of course, it might have something useful. Alright, so a caustic bulb. As you can see, it's just something you can pick up, and what it does is 1d4 acid. So essentially, you would like throw that object, and then you would have to. Now, this says until long rest. Typically, things like this they last for only so many turns, and what you'd have to do is each turn you would roll a d4, the little pyramid looking dice, and that number would cause, and whatever number you roll would be however much acid damage you would do. Now, if something was vulnerable to acid damage, whatever you rolled would be doubled, but if something was resistant, it would be halved, but never lower than 1. So he has a potion of healing, so I'm picking that up. I'm going to pick up the caustic bulb. The skull I really don't need. So here we are, we're around here again. And you know what? I actually have something that Astarion might be able to utilize, because he only has a dagger. But I have a ton of weapons, so I'm going to share my stuff with Astarion and get him equipped with something a little bit better. And then we're going to move on. So I see that there's an entrance over here. I've already explored down to our right, so here we go. We've got this stair up here, or I can go to my right. As you can see here, there's bodies over here, so I'd want to go and probably investigate those. And here we go, once again, that little I can go through, search these things. Oh look, another potion of healing. So yes, it was worth checking for supplies. All right, supply pack. That's gonna be like your rations. Rations in a character sheet would just be rations, and you typically start off with 10, and each ration is worth 1 day's worth of food. So I can send this to camp and not have to worry about carrying it. But then again, so he's got a bow. She has nothing. So I might want to go, hey, give this to Shadowheart so she has something that is ranged. as you can see, they don't really have ammo in here, but some DMs will have you keep track of your ammo. A quiver is typically 10 to 20 arrows, depending on the size of the quiver, and depending on the ammunition and what weapon it actually goes to. So I can go over here and inspect this.
Approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glitters and swirls from it erratically, as if malfunctioning. It looks slightly dangerous.
So I can, oh look, I can either leave it alone, or I can, be touchy-feely and go, hey, I'm gonna touch it.
A hand? Anyone?
And once again, one of those descriptions of, hey, look, what are you gonna do now? There's a hand sticking out of a weird magic portal. So I can go, who are you? I can slap the hand, strength. This is one of those things where it gives you a whole lot of different things to deal with. As you can see, I've got a special thing that I can do because I'm a bard. I can attune myself to the sigil's magic and try to bid it quite out. So basically, it might look like something if I'm going to try and utilize my magic through the music and try to harmonize with the magic in the sigil. And once again, I get that bonus again that I can utilize. Cantrips can be cast sort of at any given time. Guidance is one of those that's sort of at will. And see, add my charisma, my jack of all trades, and my guidance.
Whatever you're doing is working wonders. Now a quick little pull should do the trick.
And see, that actually worked out better than the other thing I could have done, which was just straight up try and yank him out with my strength.
Hello.
Because I have a
Gale
debuff
of
because I have low
Apologies.
strength score.
Usually better at this.
Introductions.
Say, but I know you, don't I? In a manner of speaking. You were on the North Road as well. I can only assume you too were on the receiving end of a rather unwelcome insertion in the ocular region.
Oh yes, couldn't have phrased it more repellently
No
myself.
sugarcoating it, is there? The insertee we speak of, this parasite, are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation it will turn us into mind flayers? It's a process known as ceramorphosis, and let me assure you, it is to be avoided. You don't happen to be a cleric by any chance, do you?
So when he says ceramorphosis, in the
Surgeon.
last stream that I did,
Handling adroit with a knitting needle?
the last stream that I did, that
You
button
seem
that I
to know
pushed,
enough about our condition to realize it's beyond most clerics' skills.
Most, no doubt, but I find myself hoping to be in the presence of the few. You don't happen to be one of them.
so the ceramorphosis is that button that I pushed on the nautiloid that caused that changed that woman into a mind flayer. That is what ceramorphosis is. And that is what those parasites are going to eventually do to the character after a certain point in time. Which makes this sort of it gives you a sense of urgency if you have a reason to be going as fast as you can without, of course, dying. Because you don't want to turn into a mind flayer. once again.
Most excellent. A parasite shared is a parasite halved, or something to that effect. Oh, but before you think you're about to embark on a journey with most ill-mannered a man, thank you for pulling me out of that stone. It was an act of foresighted kindness, I assure you. I have the feeling ample opportunities will present themselves for me to return the favor.
So, once again, we have that whole level up thing. So I'm going to take care of that again. So you're going to be seeing it from a wizard's standpoint. So as you can see, the wizard gets their subclass at level 2. So the game automatically picks evocation. So there are different classes of magic in D&D, and wizards, how they learn spells is they put them into a book. They copy them down into a book and using components and stuff, and each one of those spells is worth a certain amount of gold in components and things like that. So it has you spend this much gold to learn the new spell. That is how that works. So when you pick a subclass, you can learn those spells because it's your specialty. You know how to save on resources and therefore save money on learning those spells and only use half of it. It's like abjuration is going to be like you're protecting yourself and others. Evocation is kind of like you're causing a lot of area of effect things. Necromancy is pretty self-explanatory. Conjuration, you summon creatures and objects, and you summon them and create them with magic in order to aid you in fights and things like that. Enchantment is a lot like mind magic. It's a lot of bewitching the senses and things like that. Divination is self-explanatory once again. You can use spells that help you plan ahead, essentially. They're spells that are geared towards helping you see things that are coming. Illusion is you're tricking people by creating illusions with magic. And transmutation is you are manipulating matter itself. So I'm going to go with evocation because that's the one that canonically Gale has, and I kind of know how that one works. Now, when you choose your subclass, each subclass has their own set of spells that you can automatically learn as you level up. So, as you can see here, I've got these level 1 spells to choose from. Oh, pardon me. And, let's see here. We have Burning Hands. Basically, you're going to send out a wave of fire from your hands and cause damage. You have Charm Person. You have, which is basically you're going to stop it from ever attacking you. Doesn't mean that they're not going to attack anyone else. They just see you as an ally. Chromatic Orb. It's thunder damage. So, like, when really loud sounds that cause your ears to ring, and that lovely temporary tinnitus that can lead into permanent tinnitus, and it discombobulates you like a flashbang almost without the flash. Color Spray, that's going to blind creatures. Now, as you can see here, it says up to 33 hit points. That means I can cast it and blind creatures, but it only affects those that are weaker than the spell. Disguise Self. Expeditious Retreat allows you to use dash for and as a bonus action. So you have to concentrate on it, which means that you'll be able to move double your movement speed as a bonus action. But you won't be able to really do much anything else because you're concentrating on that spell. False Life, you gain 7 temporary hit points. Gives you a little bit extra oomph in your health. Featherfall, you gain immunity to fall damage. Find Familiar, that you summon a animal to you, either a fey spirit or an animal form, or in the ranger, like in the ranger's case, you have an animal companion that you can call. Ice Knife, you form a dagger of ice and you throw it, and it does piercing damage and cold damage, and it explodes. So I'm gonna take that one. Enhanced Leap increases your jumping distance. Long Strider increases your movement speed by 10 feet. Magic Missile. Now, Magic Missile is fun. Magic Missile cannot be blocked by anything except for very specific spells. It sends out 3 magic darts, and each one does 1d4 damage. So all you'd have to do is say, I'm using a spell slot to cast Magic Missile, and you would roll the d4 3 times, and then that total would be the damage. Or you could split up the darts and have them hit 3 separate targets. So I'm going to pick that one. Protection from evil and good. It helps protect you from all sorts of supernatural effects that would cause you harm or hinder you in some way. Ray of Sickness. Poison damage. Poisons the target possibly. Shield. Oh, here we go. Shield. When you're about to be hit by an enemy, increase your armor class by 5. You take no damage from the Magic Missile. That would be the spell that negates Magic Missile. Now, if you've noticed as I've gone through here, each one, let me do that, has this here, which indicates what part of the turn that you can use it on. Magic Missile you can use on an action phase of your turn. Expeditious Retreat you use during your bonus action, as I said earlier. Now, Shield, here it's different. It's a reaction. Much like the opportunity attack, reactions can be used at any given time. So, basically, you're about to be hit, and let's say you don't want to be hit, or you feel like you wouldn't be able to take the damage, but your armor class is within 5 of that number that was rolled, you can cast this. It would increase your armor class by 5, and it would turn that hit into a miss. And then Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I explained this with the Bard. Causes them to go prone, and they just kind of fall down laughing. Think Joker's Toxin, only without the homicidal effects, unless of course you're packing them up as they're laughing on the ground. But I digress. So there we have it. A wizard level up. Alright, there we go. Alright, it's like, let me focus on my bard. Alright, so now we're going to move some more. We're going to keep moving. Now, here we've got several different paths I can choose from. Let me go into that classic map view. Now, I could either go over here, towards this temple, or I could go to the left and go this way. So, we're going to go to our left. Oh, look, there's people. Maybe they know someone who can help us.
Zoro was right. Yellow as a toad, twice as ugly.
The thing's dangerous. Leave it for the goblins to kill.
And if it escapes, how will you... Oh, a guest.
Your skull pounds in response to the prisoner's white-hot stare. Yet you hear her voice.
Get rid of her.
Alright, so here's an opportunity where you can either, you'll instantly know what kind of party you're in by depending on how they want to react. If you're with what is typically known as the murder hobos, they'll just slaughter their way through everything. They'll be like, okay, yeah, fine, we'll get rid of them, draw their weapons and attack. Some people might want to RP it a little bit and go like, oh, you know what, let's try and convince them otherwise. And then we have this. I can use my Bard's ability to use my deception because I have a good proficiency in deception. So we're going to do that because I am a bard, so I'm going to play it that way. And of course, I get the guidance again. So, alright, so see here the D20. My +3 to charisma checks. Which is not really a... So I have +3 because... Alright, so we're going to go over here to the character sheet again. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I've been on the wrong thing for everyone. I am so sorry. You've been hearing it, but you haven't seen it. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go to the character sheet. And we're going to go... Alright, so as you can see, I'd have to make a deception check. So we go down here to deception, which is right here. I get a +3 because of the charisma. And then I get to add my proficiency to it because I am proficient in it. Alright, so we're going to go back to Baldur's Gate 3. I am so sorry, everyone. That was definitely my bad. Okay, so I've rolled an 18, a +3, a +4, and a guidance. So, that's not typically how it would work. For me, it would be a +3, a +2, and then the guidance. So that's how it would work in a tabletop. The game mechanics are a little bit wonky.
This isn't worth it. I'm out of here.
And as you can see, because I have NPCs with me, certain actions based on their personalities would approve or disapprove. And this is true in the tabletop games as well. Alright, so this is where I can go, okay, how do I get her down? I can do this.
The tadpole hasn't yet scrambled all your senses. Suspicious. But the longer we wait, the more it consumes. My people possess the cure for this infection. I must find a crash. You will join me.
So, and here we can get more lore. We're going to get some, we have the opportunity to get more lore on the world. Um, Lore may or may not help you in the campaign on down down the road. Keep in mind that when you are playing, the DM has taken the time to build a world for you to play in, which means that they have actually taken the time to come up with things about this world that they find fun, because this is their imagination. Like, hey, I want, like, yes, this is the DM's world, but you're playing in it. It's your story, but it's the DM's world that they've imagined or that they're using, and give them the opportunity to have fun with it as well. Give them the opportunity to come up with things for the world as well. So lore building is important. Don't just steamroll it. Um, while some of the information may not be useful, let the DM have some fun too. Okay? So, I can sit here and go, what exactly is a creche?
Hatchery, a training grounds, shelter. Githyanki protocol is clear. When infected with a gate tadpole, we must report to Augusta for purification.
Oh, see? Now we have a potential path to get cured. Isn't that fantastic? When you listen to the lore, you're going to get things that might help you along the mission. So, hey, we have a possible path to a cure. Alright, we journey together. Let's find this creche.
You'll need to make
So typically, this is playing off the typical. There's only about 4 people in a party. It's how this game was built. You can have more people in a party in an IRL game or a virtual tabletop game. My campaign that I run on Sunday nights has 7 people in it that are all in a party. So I can actually go, alright, so, but in this case, it only going to let me have 4 at a time, unless, of course, I download a mod. I have those mods, but I'm not using them for this case, okay? So, I can either go meet me at camp, take Astarian's place, Gale could do the rest, take Shadowheart's place. Shadowheart's kind of the healer of the party, so it kind of wouldn't make sense to send her. Gale casts magic, but it's more offensive in nature. Astarian is a rogue. He sneaks around. He's good at getting to places that we shouldn't be. And Lizelle, if you remember, excuse me again, if you remember from the last stream, or if you've played Baldur's Gate 3 before, she is a fighter. She does a lot of frontline, heavy hitting, a lot of damage. So, in this case, because I'm aware I might be getting into fights, I'm going to send Gale off.
Mine is strong, but these, well, they are a little sore. I'll gladly put my foot over.
well chosen. You have made an ally from Creche Commune. Few know such.
And see, now we have another disapproval, because
I won't trust him.
Shadowheart
I've gotten the measure.
doesn't trust the Githyanki for some reason.
Would that your mind proved its
Something about her background
Elf. I suppose the finer details are lost on a creature like you.
makes her distrust Githyanki at a level.
one there, this Soru, has seen Githyanki. A creche must be near. We will ask this Soru where he has seen the king.
And see, now we can see what a level 2 fighter would look like. Alright, so here we are, level 2 fighter. The health is increased. So at level 2 with a fighter, they get something called Action Surge. They can activate it, and instead of only having one action, they can do 2 actions, which means that they have the potential to, at this point, attack twice. They can only use this once during every long rest. Again, I'm sorry. They can use this to gain an immediate second attack. So at this point, you have the potential to attack twice within a combat turn. So, as you can see here, fighters have certain perks that they get. So we have character features. Great weapon fighting. You can roll 1 or 2 on a damage die for a 2-hand attack. That die is re-rolled once. So let's say the weapon that I'm using utilizes something called a D12 for attack. So I would roll this little 12-sided dice, and let's say it landed on the 1 or the 2. I can re-roll that, but I have to use that new roll regardless of what it lands on. So I could roll 1, and then I could roll another 1, and I'll still have to use that 1. But it gives you an opportunity to do more damage. Martial Prodigy, okay, that's just the name they gave of you have armor proficiency with light and medium armor and short swords, long swords, and great swords. Opportunity attack, that's something that everyone gets. Because like I said, you're turning your back on your enemy in the middle of a fight. It's pretty obvious they're probably going to go for the attack. So here we are with this one. So we've got all this stuff here. I could continue. I could go the way that they ran, or I could continue exploring over here. Oh, there's a bunch of people. So what we can do is we can hide. And here's something where it's like, okay, hey, I as the rogue want to sneak here. And as you can see, I can kind of see how people are looking, and I can go, okay, hey, look, I can sneak up and I can do this. Oh, look, because he's attacked, they've noticed that he died. All of a sudden, we're in initiative. Now, here we go. Alright, so now that we're in combat, I'm going to go over here and say, hey, look, alright, so these people are fighting as well, so I can actually have them try and sneak in unnoticed. Now, I know I won't be able to get down those stairs unnoticed, so technically I could go this direction. And be like, hey, I'm gonna... Alright, so you see, I can jump down here. I have the strength and the ability to jump down here. Now, let's say it was something where I was like, I was already setting this up. Like, okay, hey, these guys don't look friendly. We want to kind of surround them and set up and coordinate an attack. You can do this kind of stuff beforehand. I could have set all this up in order to do this. So essentially what this would be like is, oh, hey, they're all doing their attacks, whereas everyone else is. So it's like, hey, I'm going to do this. Boom. Oh look, the fall damage actually killed them. So now we've taken out 3 people with an ambush and don't really have to do anything. But we still have these 2 here. Now at this point it'd be like there's really no point in hiding anymore. We may as well rush in and try and finish them off. And oh look, now we're all in combat. So if we go over here to Astarion, we see that I've already used my action. I still have my bonus action. And because he's a rogue, I'm going to have him do that. And hey, look, he can move away. Oh, see? It's like he sneaks in, he stabs, he disappears again. One of those rogue features. End turn. Oh look, I've used my action. I still have my bonus action. What can I do with my bonus action? I can healing word, I can down a health potion, or I can push, jump, or dip my weapon in something. So because these 2 haven't done their actions yet, I can do this. Now I can either use my bow, or I can use cantrips, but I also have spells that I can use. Now, spells have different things that they can use. As you can see here, they have different ranges. Inflict wounds, I have to go up and I actually have to touch them. Whereas Guiding Bolt, as long as they're within 60 feet of me, I can unleash hell. And the same with these ones. You see Cure Wounds, you have to touch them. Healing Word, you don't. And if you look, you actually see that there is a difference in damage that is done because of that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the level 1 spell slot to kind of show you. So how that works is you roll to hit. So you'd roll your d20 and you would add your spell, you'd add your wisdom modifier because clerics cast with wisdom. Alright, so if we go over to, let's go over to Shadowheart, because I utilized that one. Guiding Bolt. Now, as you can see in the description, it says 4d6 Radiant. So what that means is when you would roll to attack and upon a hit, you would take your d6, if you only have one, you'd roll it 4 times and you'd take the total of each roll and you'd add them together. Or if you end up being a dice goblin, you could just grab 4 d6s and roll 4 d6s at once. Like a demented game of Yahtzee. And that is how damage works with most weapons and spells, is it's going to give you one of the various dice to roll aside from the d20 to roll as the damage. So now I can go through and I can actually loot the bodies. Oh look, gold, thieves' tools. I'm going to give that to Astarion because he's the rogue. He's the rogue. He gets that. So we have leather armor here. Okay. Does anyone actually need the armor? Does anyone have... So we have... Oh, see, look, Astarion's still hiding because he was... I can end this effect. because he no longer needs to hide. But we're gonna go here. See, he's got padded armor, which is like cloth armor. And that's going to give him 11. So essentially, all the light armor is the exact same. Fact of the matter is, I can take that and I can sell that. Now, a shield is useful. A shield adds 2 to your AC. However, it also diminishes your ability to do things because you're holding it with your hand. Now, there are people that can utilize their shields quite well. We'll go over to Shadowheart. Shadowheart, she can utilize shields very effectively. See, she actually has a shield already. So when equipping with a melee, when she's holding her melee, she gains the bonus of that shield. However, when she's using her bow, she won't, because that shield is going to be on her back as opposed to on her arm where she can actively use it. And of course, switching from your bow to your shield and sword is going to consume time in combat. So planning ahead in combat is going to be essential to that. So we can sell all this stuff. Tomato is a camp supply, so I can send that to camp and use that. Scale mail. Now we see a little bit of a difference here. You see the scale mail is medium armor, and the simple jerkin is light armor. Now, as you can see here, not proficient with medium armor. So what that's going to do is, because I'm not proficient with it, it's going to prevent me from doing actions such as casting spells and things like that. Because I'm not proficient with it, it's heavy and cumbersome to my character because they're not used to using it. So we go over here. She's wearing medium armor. It's 13. That one's a 14. But if we go over, if we send it over, I'm bringing it over to Lizelle to show the difference. 14. As a fighter, she's wearing plate. So her plate is actually better than the scale mail. So Shadowheart, because you're going to pick up loot, and you're going to want to split it up with the party. So you're going to want to give it, you're going to want to use the stuff. You don't want to keep everything for yourself. It's going to be tempting. You're going to want to keep the stuff that's going to be useful to your character, that your character can actually use, and more than one person might be able to utilize it. So that's where you're going to have to negotiate or do like what I've done in the past is, hey, let's roll a d20. Whoever gets the highest on a d20 gets the equipment. So I'm going to do this, and hey, look at that. Her AC goes up. The higher your AC, the less likely somebody is going to be able to hit you with an attack. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So as you can see, when I equip the sword and shield, when I have the sword and shield, now the game automatically adds the AC regardless of whether or not they're holding it or not. As far as the tabletop goes, she's holding a bow, she's not utilizing her shield, so she doesn't gain a bonus from that shield. And I accidentally almost attacked myself. So here's one of those lore things again. Oh look, you found a book. Now you can either pester the DM and go, hey, what's the book say? And then they have to come up with something on the spot, unless of course it's a pre-planned object that they have to interact with you. So look, more gold. Gold is always useful. There's a quarterstaff here as well. Quarterstaff is one of those basic martial weapon, one of those basic weapons that you're going to come across, or that your character is going to be able to choose from upon character creation. As you can see, it does 1d8 or 1d6 damage because it is something called versatile. A versatile weapon means you can either use it in your character one-handed or two-handed. As you can tell, the two-handed does more damage because you're able to put more oomph behind the attack. Similar to swinging a bat with both arms as opposed to one. And we have simple robes. We have these scrolls of sleep. Now the interesting thing about spell scrolls is that wizards can use spell scrolls to learn new spells. So I can pick these up, and Gale, as opposed to sitting down and going through like a library and researching and doing all that stuff, he can actually just copy the spell scroll verbatim into a spell book and utilize the components and learn the spell that way. Now it might be a spell level that's above his level, but because he's copied it down, he'll have it in a spell book, kind of a thing. So I can send that to Gale, who's at camp, and when we do the whole long rest, short rest thing, I can have him take those spell scrolls and learn how to use them. And here's one of those environment things. You've got this hole in the ground. You can go in the hole, you can jump in the hole, but you don't know what's down there. You don't know how far that goes. In fact, I will show you. Jump. Alright, so as you can see here, minus 3 HP. Because for every 10 feet of falling, you take a certain amount of damage. Much like in real life. The higher you fall, the higher the height you fall from, the more likely you are to get seriously injured. However, with a spell like Featherfall, that would negate that. So I've already gone through his stuff. But there was this guy up here as well. Oh, alright, so you see here, we have Twisted Vines. Now I can sit here and do something called Help. Or it's not going to let me. Okay, so typically outside of RP you can help someone get out of a trap. Oh look, more camp supplies, send to camp. Another camp supply, send to camp. Another good thing about Twisted Vines, you can set them on fire. Typically plants and certain things can be set on fire. So I can do this. And oh look, they're no longer a problem. You've also got to keep in mind, like when you're using elemental spells, that it might has the potential to injure your party as well. So keep in mind when you're using area of effect things that you also have party members that you need to watch out for. And please don't be that player that goes around and goes, well, that's what my character would do, and just use it as an excuse to act like an asshole to everyone else, because that just takes away from the fun from everyone else, and you might actually find yourself getting kicked out of the game. So here's another thing that we can use. Oh, hey, look, let me in now. I killed your friends and I'm here for you. That would alert him that something went wrong. I could use my performance to persuade my way in. Or I could attempt to deceive him by, oh no, they've triggered some trap. We need some help out here. So once again, we've got that. And because the DM might have things that go on like, hey, because you are a bard and you are used to acting and you are used to pretending to be someone else, your role is going to be lower as opposed to someone else's role. They might play it like that. They might go off of what the book says is what the DC is. The DC being the dice check, the dice count. So, if we go back to the character sheet and we look at it, so I would, of course, I'm going to show you how it would be rolled in not Baldur's Gate 3. So I've got the guidance on, and then I've got my deception going. So I'd get a +5 for my deception, and then a +4 for the guidance. So I would roll. So I could. Now the DM might have the cleric or whoever's casting the guidance roll the d4, or they might have you roll the d4. It all depends on what they want to do and how they like their table run. So I'm going to roll the d20 and the d4 at the same time, and then I'm going to, okay, so it said the DC was 5. I just rolled a 19. So a 19 plus a 5, that brings up to 24, and then I rolled a 2 on the d4. So that is a 26. So the DM might go, oh yeah, you convince him that you're Grimblehook to the point where he doesn't even question the fact that you don't even actually sound like Grimblehook. Like, he's just like, between the door, your performance, and the fact that he's probably an idiot, he actually thinks that you're Grimblehook, and probably thinks you're having an off day. Can't even tell the difference of your voice. So, we're going to roll it here and see if I actually succeed. Oh look, now I can enter. Oh, hold up. There we go. Oh look, now I can enter. And we've opened the door. And here's another effect that comes into play. Sometimes you can get the drop on people, and they're something called surprised, which means that when it's their turn, they can't do anything for that very first round because they're shook up. So it's Astarian's turn first because he rolled the highest on the initiative check. So let's go back to the character sheet again. And you see this thing here called initiative. That is going to be your d20 plus your dexterity. And then plus typically so, and because I have the Jack of all trades, any ability checks. Alright, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Regardless, because I have dexterity, I get a +3 and other things to my initiative roll. As you can see here, this is kind of the verbatim from the book on how that works. So we're going to go back to the game. So because Astarion rolled so high, he gets to go first. Now, some classes actually give you bonuses against players that are surprised, against characters that are surprised. Now we have this, and he's going to, I'm going to have him move here and turn. Because he's surprised, he can't move. He can't do anything. He's like, oh my god, who are these people? That gives us another chance to do that. And then this one, we can run in and just boom. Okay, so you see this critical hit thing that popped up. What that means is when it rolled the d20 for my character, it hit the d20. It hit the 20 on the d20, and that enabled me to do a critical hit. Now, a critical hit, because it's a 1d8 plus 2, I would roll the d8. I'd roll that for damage, but because it was a critical hit, I'd roll that d8 again and add another set of damage. So of course, hey look, he's got a key. Keys are important. Keys let you into places. Torches are important as well, especially if your characters don't have something called dark vision, because if you're in a dark room, you're going to want to be able to see. However, torches do have a time limit if the DM does keep track of that stuff. They are consumable resources. Some of the resources you come across are consumable. Now, if you notice, the swords, some have them, even though they're somewhat the same, have different, they have different qualities and different damage capabilities. So we have all that, and now we have a whole room to explore. We're all here. We've got this whole thing. So basically, it'd be like, I'm gonna look around the room and see what I see. So I'm gonna do that. Oh, hey, look, I've got food on the table. There's a plaque on the wall to the right of my character, and then there's this trunk right here. Well, that trunk might have things that are good for me. Oh, gold, plate, chalice. Okay, looter's trunk. That makes sense. What's this over here? Oh, it's a painting of some kind. Well, what's the painting? It's the painting of an undead. Now, sometimes when you come across paintings, the DM's gonna have like a history facet attached to it, and he'll be like, make me a history check. Oh, whoops, I am playing the wrong thing again. Okay, here we go, we're here. I am so sorry. I keep losing track of going back and forth. It is my bad again. So we go here, and like some DMs, like sometimes their campaigns, things like paintings and things like that, they'll have a history attached to them, and they'll have you do a history check, which of course would be that d20 plus any proficiencies and things like that onto it. And if you pass, you get the knowledge. If you don't pass, then you're stuck without that knowledge. Oh look, there's a lever. What does it do? it opens the door. Oh crap. Okay, they see me. Oh look, Astarion. What's Astarion? Oh, Astarion has a firebolt. Okay then. Look at that. Oh hey look, I spy a fire barrel. So I'm gonna hit that. Boom. And it's gonna explode all over the place and it's gonna cause major damage. See, that guy failed whatever saving throw he had to make to mitigate damage, which means he dies. We have this guy who probably failed as well, but he took less damage because he was further away, or he was just outside the radius, or whatever. This person took full damage as well. That person was outside of the radius of the damage, so they took no damage whatsoever. Gonna be over here, and cunning action to hide. Because rogues are sneaky. The bard is like this. Let's see here. Alright, we're gonna do Vicious Mockery. So how Vicious Mockery works is you insult someone and you cause them psychic trauma, essentially. You're bullying them, like I said yesterday. You've bullied them. Oh look, they failed. Which means they've suffered some sort of psychic damage of some kind. Now, some DMs might let you do things called, like they might have like a homebrew of, would you like to prepare a react? Would you like to have, like, your character is planning ahead as they're fighting? Would you like them to have some sort of reaction? Be like, oh, I'm gonna be ready to dodge an attack that comes my way, or I'll be ready to counter attack any attack that comes my way, kind of a thing. But most there's a lot of DMs out there that will go, okay, a reaction is a reaction on whatever your character is capable of doing. So that's how this game plays. So we're gonna focus on that one. So now it is her turn. She was capable of hitting me. Now it is the cleric's turn. I'm going to show you how this works. Alright, so we've got the bonus action. I can do Healing Word, or I could use the action and use the actual healing Cure Wounds. So that would be something like you'd run up and you would do this. Oh, hey, look, they've healed them. Okay, cool. That's great. Fantastic. Lizelle, she's someone that does melee attacks, so it's like, okay, what now? I have this stuff that I can throw, but I don't want to do that. Or I can use the bow and have that prepared and be like, okay, he's the biggest guy in the room. He might be a danger, or they're ranged, so they're a danger as well. But he's the biggest guy in the room. He's going to be their heavy hitter, so and that would be miss. I rolled a d20. It didn't roll high enough, even with all of my little bonuses, and therefore it didn't work. Now, I'm going to show you how Action Surge works. Action Surge. Boom. Now I can go ahead and I can just attack again with the bow. And see, there was the success. I turned a miss into a success. Now I have the bonus actions that I can use, which are things that I don't need to use, so my turn is ended. Now, they are a ranger. So they have something that they have magic that they can use. Okay, see what just happened? They raged. They're what's known as a barbarian. That rage effect that I was telling you about yesterday. So, boom. He sneaks in. He manages to do more damage than mitigates the half damage. And now we have the Bard. Who is, you know what, they're going to use Dissonant Whispers. We're going to use one of my spell slots, and I'm going to use Dissonant Whispers on that one. And I quite literally scared them to death. And now it is her turn, but see, they're so weak, I'm just going to use Firebolt, which is a cantrip, and just fire it. But as you can see, when I rolled that d20 to hit, which is how that was played, it didn't roll higher than their AC, their armor class. So Lizelle is just going to get tired of it and run up and stab them. Now we still have an enemy somewhere. That enemy is right here. See, this is what happens when you lose track of things. So there's a Starion right here, so he's going to, boom, stab him with the rapier. He was able to hit. And then samesies. So let's go back to the character sheet. Your actions. So when we're talking about attacks and bonuses that to those attacks, we're talking about this to hit. It'll usually say attack with a plus. In this case, let's say I'm attacking with the rapier. I get a +4 to hit, which means every time I roll a d20, I add +4 to that number. And then if I hit, I roll, of course, that 1d8, and then I add the +2. Now there are other effects that can add into. If they're prone or unconscious, then I can roll the d20 twice and utilize the highest number. Or let's say that I have something that's hindering me, then, and I would be forced to roll at something called disadvantage, which I also covered yesterday. Roll the dice twice and then use the lowest roll. So here we are, we've got this whole thing to explore. He's got leather gloves, leather boots, a club, and a javelin. So yeah, not really any use, anything that I could use. But javelins take strength to throw. So I can give that to Lizelle, who has a very high strength score. Lizelle might keep, whoever would be playing Lizelle might be like, hey, I can use the javelin because I can throw it pretty far due to my strength. Because I would add my strength multiplier to that. Whereas we've got the dagger and the leather armor and then the short bow, which of course is just something that most characters can use. So we have the basic poison. Okay, so this would be something that you would coat your weapon in. That dipping your weapon in. That'd be that bonus action. Excuse me, pardon me again. So we've got all this here. the wizard here, another spellcaster, if you couldn't already tell with the spells they're flinging around. I got another book that adds lore, or could be mission important, who knows. In Baldur's Gate 3, mission important items are going to be orange. But when you're going through, you're not going to know what's mission important, what isn't. So it's important to make these investigations and to look for things for your characters. That way you can learn more about what you're doing, and helps you build your imagination into what you want your character to do in a world. Scroll of Burning Hands. I can send that to Gale. He can learn that. Doesn't mean that he might utilize it at any given time, but he can use it. Alright, here's one of those things. Alchemist's Fire. It's like a firebomb, essentially, is what it is. It's a fire bottle. So you can throw this and it will cause an area to turn into a hazardous zone, causing damage to anyone that goes through it. Now, typically when people play rogues, they're like, ooh, I want the poison. I want the poison so I can coat my weapon in it, and things like that. So you've got this, oh look, a door. So we've got that. How do we unlock a door that has no handle or lock? You can't. You have to find another way to open it, if you're capable of opening it at all. So you'd go through and you'd be like, you might search the nearby area. So on and so forth. So this would be another thing. If we go back to the character sheet, because that is something that is utilized in the character sheet but not in the game, we have this thing down here, languages. My character sheet, it says common, elvish, and undercommon. So whatever wording that is on that plaque would be a language that is not common, elvish, or undercommon, which is why I would not know the language on the plaque. You might have a... Okay, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Just because you make a high roll and you beat the DC of something doesn't mean that your character's going to know what it is. There's going to be some things that the DM is going to be like, okay, no, because of circumstances in the game or because of the way the plot works, you're not going to be able to do this, okay? So don't be mad, don't be disappointed. Use your imagination to work your way around it. Or to roll with it, because whatever revelation is coming, it might actually, change how you want to interact, and actually might make it more interesting and more fun to go, hey, wait a minute, then I could do this instead, and then that would make the scene so much cooler. So I'm going to keep this, see, perception successful. So that would be that passive perception that I was talking about yesterday on the character sheet. So we're going to go back here. This passive perception right here. So whatever it was obvious to behold, and I was capable of seeing it. That is how that works. Passive investigation, I'm actively looking for something, but the DM might be like, okay, I'm not going to have you roll for this because you're actively looking for it. And they might lower they might lower the DC level, and you might see it right away, or they might have you make an active investigation or perception check. But these right here is going to be what you passively can pick up in your area. And that would be everything I can think of. So, a lever. Okay, so let's see here. Do I want to pull the lever, or do I want to see what happens? Is it a trap? Is it not? You got to ask these things. Like, okay, you found a lever. Okay, what then? You could just pull it right away. What did that do? It's like, okay, what happened? Or I could have set off a trap and killed everyone in the building. You don't know. Oh, look, it actually opened that door that we were looking through. Okay, where does this door lead, kind of a thing. So that's what that is. Alright, so with that, I think I've covered things that I hadn't covered already. I will probably do this some more on. I'll probably do this again later. You know, I will continue this later. I'll be more focused on playing the game, and then if anyone who's watching has any questions about D&D and the mechanics, they can go ahead and they can ask. So we can go into that. Hi, Anthea. But we can go into that if anyone has any questions later on. Does anyone have any questions on D&D and the mechanics that I did not go over in either the session yesterday, if you weren't here, or today? Okay then. Alright, so with that, I'm going to call it. Just a reminder, if you'd like to see a virtual tabletop being played, I do run a campaign on Sunday nights at 7:30 at Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and that usually runs a few hours. Come join us then, and you'll be able to see more in depth of like what I'm talking about as far as virtual tabletops and how that rolls out. So thank you for watching, and have a good night.